This is Scorpio.
And Aquarius.
Today, what are we talking about today?
Rh negative blood groups.
Yeah, this is something that people talk about a lot. There's a big misconception about a lot of it. They say it's something different.
It's something that needs to be discussed because it's a
Yeah.
little silly. But wait, before we get really started here, I just want to. Okay, so if anyone lives in the Tacoma, Washington area, go to the restaurant. It's a vegan restaurant called A Quickie to a Vegan Cafe. The food's delicious.
Yeah, that place is fantastic.
Yes, it's probably one of the best vegan restaurants we've tried. We've tried a lot. It's definitely up in the top, 10. But anyway, continue.
Okay. So,
okay, I want to start with, so I've noticed this in the past few years mostly. There seems to be more conspiracy starting to surround the whole Rh negative bloodline. And it's interesting too, because when you see, when you do an internet search for it, 10 years ago or more, you can see, just regular articles. In the last 2 or 3 years, you start seeing stuff come up about, are Rh negative people from a different planet? Are they special or whatever? So it's you can kind of see that
people are off of
it. Your silliness about it is getting played off on. But so here's a recent article. It says, these people's body's temperature is generally lower than average. They have red hair, green or blue eyes, and they are more sensitive to high temperatures. There's also claims that Rh negative people are generally more physically and emotionally aware. Alright, so that's kind of so people are like, well, they're probably from another planet, or they're like a fairy species, or I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of interesting, the thing is, we don't know for sure 100% what's going on, but the thing is, this is one of those things that's being used to cause some sort of divide. But you can start.
So, out of the medical school textbook for embryology, the only thing that they ever talk about for it is that the Rh factor can mess with the baby as it's coming out of the mother. So what it says is the response from the Rh positive cells from the mother and the baby can be different, and what it ends up doing is...
So it's typically when the mother is Rh negative, and then she has... These are some of the main issues, I guess, why people like to talk about Rh factor, because the mother is Rh negative, and she has a baby with a man who's Rh positive, and the baby ends up being Rh positive. What can happen is that if the fetal blood mixes with the maternal blood, she'll make antibodies to the fetal blood, and the baby she can either destroy the baby's blood completely, or the baby will be born with a hemolytic anemia sort of disease. And that's kind of the main thing. Oh my gosh, well obviously they must be a different species if the mother's going to attack the baby born from someone who's if the baby's Rh positive, and then her body's programmed to attack the baby and kill it. So that's kind of
And that is the case to an extent, but it was funny because my professor was actually saying that it doesn't happen even without the whole hormone that they give the baby or the mother right before birth. It's she was saying, she's delivered tons of people's babies they had the opposite sides and there was no issues. She just said it's especially if they waited long enough and the antibodies from the mother, it's she had a baby right after another. She said there tended to be a little bit of an issue, but if she waited over a year or so, there was no issue at all.
So basically, what you're telling me is that there's no real issue?
Yeah, that's what she was saying.
At least according to this one doctor who has delivered, or who's been, who's had
plenty of experience with this.
With people who are Rh negative who give birth to Rh positive babies.
Yeah.
Basically, what they're saying is that they have never witnessed a real big issue themselves. And I'm actually looking in the literature myself, and the chances of an actual hemolytic anemia case in an infant born to an Rh negative mother is actually really rare. They don't have it documented very often.
Mm-hmm. And now what they're trying to do is make it seem like they documented a lot, but a lot of times, I mean, mothers weren't going in and doing tons of blood work before. It's like this is a newer thing, so it's like they're like, oh, but they could have added all this preventative stuff, but it's like they didn't do all that all the time before. So it's like it's kind of just a little silly when it comes to down to it.
It's almost like guesswork, and so maybe from that there may be a little bit of conspiracy that now they're like, oh, where there is an issue, we need to make sure they get the ROGAM shot. If there's an Rh negative mother who's gonna have a Rh positive baby, you need to make sure they get the ROGAM shot so she doesn't get produce antibodies or whatever. And then in reality, she doesn't really produce antibodies. And the thing is, in order for the blood to mix, there has to be a few things that actually happen. So it doesn't just happen that the blood mixes and then she makes antibodies and tries to kill a baby. Usually, if there's some sort of traumatic event, or they say sometimes during delivery, if it's a more traumatic birth, or I'm trying to find a list of what I was saying, there's some specific, usually some trauma has to happen in order for the maternal blood to mix with the fetal blood. So this is not even something that normally happens. And most of the time, she'll have the baby and there's no issue. And like you were saying, if there had been an issue, she did make antibodies. Usually, if she waited long enough, like a year or two, then there'd be no issue the next time around.
Exactly.
So let's throw that silly thing out of the water. But also, I want to bring up the fact that there are other blood proteins. I have a little diagram here, but basically, you have blood proteins and blood sugars that coat the red blood cell in different people. And we have the ABO blood grouping, which I think those are sugars. Yes, those are blood sugars. And so these are a type of antigen. And then you also, if you go down the line, you have an M and S, you have a KEL group, and then you have these larger proteins, the RH, which RH is one of those larger proteins, and you have the Diego, the KID, KIDD. But basically, there's more than just the RH group, you guys. It's just blood proteins, okay? Or blood sugars, antigens that cover the blood cell. And if you go, let's see, if you actually look more into the RH blood group, you realize that there are 49 different types of antigens under the RH blood group, or RH. There's 49 different types of RH antigens. And the Rh negative is just that you don't have any of those antigens, so you don't have any of those 49 different antigens. So it's more, my point is that it's more complicated than just, oh, you have Rh positive from the rhesus monkey, and then you have Rh negative. They must be an alien species from, like, some fairyland or something or whatever. It's more complicated than that, and they don't know exactly what the RH group does. I think there's some speculation that being Rh negative has something to do with being less sensitive to toxoplasma, which is it's something that if you are pregnant, usually in pregnant people is where toxoplasmosis can affect them. But they think that you might be less sensitive to it. And so my guess, if that were true, would be that people who are Rh negative were probably more in areas that had a lot of toxoplasmosis. Maybe, who knows,
Another thing that's interesting is, like, they have, like, this idea of, like, who these people are, but it's like then they have this demographic breakdown right here where it's like it shows there's white people that have, like, the most, and then it's followed up by, like, North American Indian and black people. But if you put the black people and the Indian stack on top of each other, it ends up being 50-50. And because anyone that knows anything knows that the standard North American Indian is a black person. So it's like,
do your research.
Yeah. That one's a whole nother cookie.
Yeah, and then they have Asian people, they have Hispanic. So it's kind of I mean, yeah, there's
it's almost evenly spread out through everybody. It's not like
it's about
they try
15,
to make white people look like there's more, but it's actually not more.
And it really isn't, because when you, what was it, the doctor you knew? Well, basically, well, this one chart shows what is about 15% of population. I don't say for where the exact number is, but you guys can look this up. We'll put the link for this article, a real scientific journal, down here so you can look at the numbers yourself. But basically, it's about 15% of the population that are Rh negative. But within that 15%, it's not like there's just one type of person that is Rh negative. It's kind of relatively, spread out,
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't
and I'm
follow
not.
up with
And the
it.
thing
Like
is,
this person
some are a
has
lot
like
less than others, but it's like it's not. I'm not even gonna name it because it's not important.
it's not
Because
it's like in the scientific journal itself doesn't say that these people have specific looks to them or anything like that.
well, they're typically, very sensitive to, whatever. You guys, come on, get over this. This is something that's used to divide people. And what does he call it? I think Brother Sanchez uses the term spookism. But it's something that, like,
Divide and conquer people over some stupidity because come on, you guys, this is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Just drop the whole Rh factor thing, okay? Some people are Rh negative, some people are Rh positive, some people have other blood proteins on, and some people don't, and some people have different blood sugar antigens, and some people don't. So it's just it's all, there's a big variety. I think maybe in the beginning of human, the discovery or the beginning of human civilization, maybe everyone who were in different regions had certain blood groups, maybe because of the region they're in, and then they all mix together because that's what humans do. We get together and mix together, okay? And I don't think it's any more serious than that, to be honest with you. And we need to kind of get over this idea that, whoa, these people are this thing, so they must be, special somehow, or higher well, that's another one I've seen. They have higher IQs because they're Rh negative.
You guys need to look into IQ tests in the first place.
Yeah, IQ tests are kind of a load of garbage, but stop getting into stuff that like makes people, separates people, okay? And then there's this other website that also talks about what the certain look of an Rh negative is, and then they have pictures of people who send in pictures of the Rh negative people that sent pictures in, and there's like all kinds of people.
Yeah, there's not a unique look to it. And, they all, it's like as you
they
start
just
scrolling
look like
through, they look like people, and then they're like, well, it's because they have this. Then you scroll down, and it's like, oh, well, this person doesn't have that. And then it's just kind of silly.
Yeah, I might put the link to this website or something on our thing too, just so you can kind of see that. You guys just drop it, okay? It's silly, okay? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like you guys be like happy to come together, not be like, oh, I'm better than you because of this. It's like,
or there must be something interesting about these people. Oh, there's another one. Yeah, that there's no more pure blood type. There's no most pure blood type. There's no better blood type than the other. Like it's just a bunch of different blood types. All right, and just leave it at that. Yeah. We're all equal. We're all different. Okay, it's no more complicated than that. All right.
Sorry if this hurts anyone's feelings, but it's just the reality of it.
Yes, please. Now, I wanted to read...
It should make people feel happy that we're all the same but different, not, oh, I'm special because of this. It's like, we're all the same. And it's a great thing, not a bad thing.
Yes, and Rh negative people do not come from some fairyland, okay? And the thing is, we don't know 100% for sure where all the blood groups come from, obviously. But we don't know if there's some group of people that come from some other realm of this, plane that we don't. But the thing is, it's not important, is what we're trying to say. It's not important. Alright? If it were important, we would know. It wouldn't be a big mystery. Alright, come on. Well, I can't really say that, but if it was important...
Well, we'll go and wrap it up.
Wait, I did want to read this, because this is where they... Wait.
The hemolytic disease.
Hemolytic disease in the newborn. There's one story I found somewhere why they... I don't think I can find it there, but basically where they were thinking this might be a cause of hemolytic anemia disease in the newborn because there was some there was some incident of a woman who was Rh negative who had a baby, and I think they said that the father was Rh positive, and that she had a miscarriage, and so they assumed that it was because she must have made antibodies or something to the baby's blood. But in that article, it said, well, the baby's blood never was tested, so they don't actually know what happened to the baby. They just assumed that that's what happened, and then for some reason, this whole thing built off this case and cases like this where weren't able to verify that that's what happened. So yeah, it's just dumb stuff on top of dumb stuff.
Okay. That's definitely some good information. We'll link a lot of this information to the video. Please look into it yourself.
Do real research, you guys, and don't just like look at other people's videos, because there's a lot of videos out now about how Rh negative people are from another planet or something like that. Okay,
don't take people's word for it. It's like we'll give you the information. You don't even have to listen to us. But if you go through the information, you'll be like, okay, I see what it's saying. Then think about it logically. Don't just sit there and be like, this is what it's saying, so obviously this is the answer. It's like, think about it. Actually let it sit in your brain for a little bit. Okay, that about wraps up. Anything else you want to close with?
I just hope that people will see this video and realize that there's no big conspiracy against. Well, you know what? I don't know what the big wigs are planning on anyone. I just know that anything that they can put into our brain that causes any sort of, oh my gosh, oh, aliens, oh my gosh, who are they? Oh, they're different than us. Oh no, anything that they can get started that has something to do with that, they will definitely push it. But beyond that,
that definitely shows the higher IQ, right?
Right. No, but anything beyond that, with that aside, we're all. Like I said, we can't obviously verify if there was a certain blood group that came from another Earth or a realm or whatever. We don't know, exactly, obviously. But the thing is we're all human beings, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're all created equally,
and we're all in this together.
There is no group of us that has a higher IQ or that has special psychic abilities than others. There's plenty of Rh positive people who have heightened psychic awareness or whatever, okay?
And sensitivities to the sun.
Yeah, alright, so it's like, drop it, you guys, okay, please. But, other than that, that's pretty much it, closing. Right. Just drop the whole Rh positive or Rh negative, alright, please, you guys, move beyond that so we can actually come together as humanity and get some real shit done. I mean, real stuff done.
Yes.